3. We're showing grades. There's 4 and 6 and 10 for another time. Number 24. You got it, Jaden.
What is 3?
A.
Oh, wait, 10.
A.
I didn't get that one yet. Oh, yeah, I got that.
Hey, Alec, how's that grading going?
How's it going?
24.
Clickety.
Sophia, we good? Graded 24?
What's number 3?
Oh boy. Sophia, fill in.
Number 3 is
It's an odd, but you should have already graded that one.
parabola. I remember last year I couldn't say that word. Now I'm trying to.
Oh, parabola? How'd you say it?
Parabola.
Parabola.
Sounds like Ebola.
Oh my goodness. What was the guy from the Abundant Bread of Salvation?
54!
The CEO of Abundant Bread.
Alex, just go to 54.
Because I have such a great teacher, so I know how to do it.
54 is a nasty one with all the fractions. You guys got 19 over 81?
No.
Wait.
Did you get negative?
Oh, I got that.
Because it was a weird one. You had to plug in your H and plug in your K, and then you had to take your point and plug in your X and your Y and solve for A with lots of fractions.
Too much work.
I am so very excited.
I think a few people got negative.
Yeah.
Oh, you got negative?
It's all price.
Yeah.
Emily got
No.
negative?
Yeah. I just.
Yeah.
But this part made sense. The plugging in. If I were you guys, I would have changed him to be 16 fourths. Yeah, because then you can get common denominators easier. And I would have changed that to be negative 4 halves. Because then that would have been negative 9 halves squared. Would have been, maybe it was a squaring, so negative 10 and negative would be a positive.
Bless you,
81 Carlos. And then you have your minus 3 fourths. And then you would have added that to the other side, like 19 fourths. You would have to multiply by your reciprocal. And then those reduce. A lot of fractions.
Yeah, that's it.
A lot of fractions. But do you guys see what I'm doing to try to make the fractions easier? Stop the game. Common denominators all over the place. And guys, don't feel like any less than or ashamed or anything if your fractions aren't working out well. Like, that's something I keep working on with calculus kids as far as their fractions. It's just one of those things, for some reason, our brain kind of shuts off. But you got to be thinking of these whole numbers as over 1. You got to be thinking of getting common denominators to make your life easier. So many of you have reverted to decimals for so long that you don't realize fractions truly are easier, especially when solving something like this. Because you plugged in your H, hopefully you plugged in your K to your A, X minus H plus K, but it was a negative number. And the only way to solve for A was taking my X and taking my Y and plugging into X. Sophia, Alex, you both got 19 over 81 the first time?
Yes.
We had a few kids that got negatives, and so I'm trying to explain.
I didn't even get that. I didn't even get an answer.
At all.
No,
Fractions are nasty.
yeah.
Did you like shut down?
I shut down big time.
Who else shut down this one? Let's just be honest. Why not? 54 who shut down? 1, 2-ish, 3-ish. How many of you guys got like a different answer than the right 4, 5, 6, 7? Like, I'd say half the class either shut down or got the wrong answer.
Yeah.
Fractions are nasty. Let's just admit it, and then we just gotta push through.
It took all my culture away.
Did anybody not find a mistake? Did you guys find a mistake in your fraction? Maybe.
I like it better like this.
Versus.
Versus where you have to change it, but I like it better like this.
Yeah. It's nicer to plug in the H and K, unless it's like, Sophia, a lot of people just don't like fractions. So as soon as it was just got that. If you guys can't find your mistake, we can look at it later. I'm not sure everybody. Fractions are friends, not. Okay.
Fractions are needed for numbers.
Hey guys, how'd they magically get the x-intercepts?
I just looked at it.
Visually and graphically.
Okay, so this one they could have just looked at it and then they were trying to factor to get there, right? And remember for that nifty little x method, you could have done your -6 and you could have done your 5, and you would have gotten your negative
1 and 6.
6 and positive 6 and -1, right? And then you could have taken your leading coefficient of 2. And then you could have reduced that to be 1 and 3. And if these are your x's and these are your numbers, if you're trying to put together factors with an x and a plus and a number, you would have gotten 1x plus 3 and 2x minus 1. I mean, you could have done grouping like that and really looked at it too. Mr. Chang does grouping.
Yeah.
I like shortcuts. I like shortcuts. Can I come back to factoring for just a second? I did it with regular pre-cal today, but first let me have you grade. Number 76. Pause! If you didn't like number 50, what was that? What was the bad fraction one? 54? If you didn't like 54, what might you have not done very much on 76?
I shut down
Yeah.
2 seconds.
Right? Like the fractions look so much worse.
I got the wrong answer.
Now, can you guys tell what they ended up using? Their calculator eventually, right? So pause. If they used their calculator eventually anyway, technically, what could you have done way back here? You graphed it and found the max because it's a concave down problem. Oh. But let's assume that you were like, no, they want me to do it by hand, kind of. Do you see what they? Oh, I don't have a yellow. Do I have a yellow? I don't know which one. That one. Well, see, it's a point because in all the notes we did this in a yellow starburst.
Oh yeah.
They used the formula to say, we don't want to complete the square with that. It's disgusting. So instead, they went ahead and took -b all over 2a, which was gross, but not near as bad as completing the square. And then they did. Do you guys remember in our graphing calculators how you can do y1 of? So even if you didn't use the max feature in your calculator, you still could have plugged this in as your y1. Done work to get your h or to get your vertex, and then just plug this guy in to your calculator and say, can you just do all that work for me because I really don't want to do it. Is it possible to do by hand with a calculator doing multiplication to get these big numbers? Yes, it is. But I figured if you're using the calculator anyway, I wouldn't have minded the max feature. Does that make sense? Did they give you the equation? Sorry, I'm assuming that they gave it to you. Did you have to come up with that?
No, they gave it.
Okay, good. When they said how high was the ball when it was punted, this means at the very beginning of the horizontal distance it hasn't gone anywhere. That's why they plugged in 0 and they got 1.5. Then they asked for the maximum height, so you had to find the max either on your calculator or using like the vertexy stuff and plugging in. And then this last one is asking how far it goes. When will the punt stop? If it drops on the ground. When the height, I just messed it up. When the height is 0. So they went ahead and set the whole thing equal to 0, and to solve for the zeros, either on your calculator, you have to expand your window to get all the way out to 230 to find where it hits the axis, or you would have had to use the quadratic formula because there's no way to factor. Right?
I put 213. I made a guess.
Oh, that was pretty close.
Because I just thought of football terms.
Oh, there you go. Sophia.
For A, could you just tell what that thing was?
You can kind of see that extra constant would probably be the vertical shift. Yeah. circular problem with a quadratic interval. So final answer for A, 1.5 feet. For B, 104-ish, with a little bit of decimals feet. And for C, 228.64-ish. For those of you guys that shut down and didn't think about using your calculator, you do have tools. But for those of you that did try to go about it by hand, like props, if you got there, did anybody get there going by hand entirely besides multiplication?
I went through it, but I got the wrong answer.
Yeah. There's so many places to make mistakes, right? Look at all that math. So many places to make mistakes. Which is why, technically, out of this entire section, do I really think that you need to be able to do all of the math in number 76 in your head? No. No, I don't. I really don't. If there's a problem like this that ever shows up on what I'm ultimately preparing you for is word problems on the AP Calculus exam, with numbers like this, you would be using your calculator, hence why I'm showing it to you. However, are there mental math things that I do want you to be able to do?
Yeah.
Yes, just not this. Before we totally move away to homework and come back to that factoring thing, is there anything else you guys want to look at as far as evens or odds? In homework you got stuck on, or you... 24? Did you get the completing the square vertex form?
Yeah, I think I got.
That was okay?
Wait, I got x minus. Wait, I'm confused.
X minus 8? Was it written differently? Make sure the book was right. That's right. Double check your original problem.
Okay, I got x squared plus 16x plus 64, but I don't. Shouldn't you subtract 64 on the outside then?
Yeah. See, technically I would have written the negative 17 next, right? He's out there, and then I would have done the minus 64 or plus a negative to offset.
Okay.
And that's how they got the negative 81. And then factoring, it's all pluses, hence why there's a plus 81.
And then the axis of symmetry is found.
Stealing the h, because remember in our graphs, and I think I have that. You guys can grab out your worksheet and be playing on it in the meantime if you haven't finished it yet. But Jaden, remember the axis goes through the vertex, and the vertex, I can just steal that h to be that axis.
And then is that the h equals 3 to be over 2 to find
Yeah.
out? Okay, that.
Yeah. And then the x-intercepts would have just been factoring. Is that good?
Yeah.
Anything else you guys want to look at, Megan? 54. Okay, for 54, at the foundation of the problem, wrong one, was the fact that they gave us clues, and from the clues we were trying to get the equation. My ones that are collaborating, I love it, but I think I'm going to need to ask you to collaborate quietly so you can point to your work if you're trying to help someone out. You can whisper a quick direction, but otherwise you have your worksheet out and you're playing on that if you haven't finished it. So Megan, you're thinking about that whole equation that we want to get. So maybe think about, okay, who's our HK? And that's the vertex. And then we have that extra point off to the side, which doesn't help me directly with the A. But if I think about it, I can think of him as an XY, just some XY that needs to still work. So because I don't have anything else, I'm going to have to use him. So to use him, well, first of all, I can set up what x minus what the basic form would be, just by putting in my h and putting in my k. But then the problem was I'm not done unless I know him. And with no other clue, well, I guess I have to use what they gave me. So what they gave me was an x, and what they gave me was a y. Okay. Does that make sense? Yeah. And then we get into all that nasty fraction work of having to do things like, I won't do the whole thing, but let me do it in a different color. It's just going to be a lot safer if we do things like put them over 1 and multiply by 2 over 2. Get your fraction together and then square the top bottom of your fraction. Put him over 1. Get him into fourths so that when I add that, it's nice and easy. Yeah. Keep it on that. Anything else as far as how to do it, how to start? You got stuck on your answer. You guys are in your worksheet, which is good, because what's technically due tomorrow? Yeah, our worksheet, right? There was this thing about factoring. That I wanted to come back to, but for right this second, let's not so much worry about the factoring, because a lot of you are in the worksheet itself. I have the example that I wrote down yesterday that was kind of like the front page of the worksheet, and then I have this one that I gave hints on about the back side of the worksheet. So here's a question. Has anybody gotten stuck anywhere? Anybody gotten stuck in between?
For I'm kind of confused what it said. Made a value of playing out.
Okay, I was trying to help out with this one on the example I did yesterday, so hold on, let's go through that real fast. There's the of and then there's the at. So yesterday I added an extra line to help us with that. So what I said was, remember, when you're saying max or min, what you're saying is that the function has a high or a low height or y value or function value. So the of is, well, how high does it get? Or how low does it get? The of is the max height or the min height, how high, how low, it's the y. The at is the f.
How come there's... Oh, never mind.
I kind of like just added, it might not be exactly like the worksheet is because I kind of just added it because I knew that question was coming. So for those of you guys that are here in number 4 and 5, if you haven't gotten here yet, if I were you, I would do a little like y value for the first blank and x value for the second blank. Or another way of putting it would be the k, right? Wouldn't that be the k and that be the h of your vertex, whoever you get? Like I'm not giving answers, but I'm showing you. So the h and k is going to be at the vertex. But that of blank wants the k, and then the at blank wants the h. Now the zeros, aren't you going to have to do some sort of like factoring or quadratic formula or something, right? For those zeros. Because technically, if you guys realize the whole worksheet, you're supposed to be working by hand until the word poems. In homework, definitely calculator was appropriate, but in the worksheet. Okay, anything else as far as directions being tricky, or problems being tricky, or zeros being nasty? Yes.
6.
If you guys want, we could peek at 6 together. Maybe you've already done it, but if not, it's a homework problem, why not? So number 6. What's weird about it, Sophia? I agree. It's weird. If you were to do the zeros aren't hard at all, right? As long as you pull out the common negative for your x squared minus 2. Okay, well the zeros might be kind of nasty, but way before the zeros we're supposed to be doing the vertex, but there's no x term, so how do I... What? Oh, plus 2, yeah, please. We're still going to have some issues, but yeah, you're right, even worse issues than before. But over here on the left, we don't have an x term. How do I take out my leading coefficient to complete the square? It's really cool. It's actually already in standard form, just the minus 0 they didn't put. So you can actually be like, well, if there is no x term, well, that's kind of like it's an x minus 0 squared, and that's really cool because we totally know our vertex. See it? And our vertex could be 0, -8. Or you can think about it, it's a quadratic that's been reflected and then shifted down. So because it was written in the weird form, it's actually a more basic transformation, but it's just hard to see. But this one, if I try to set this equal to 0 now, well, if I divide by -4, that's still 0. If I subtract a 2, am I going to have some issues right about now? If I square root both sides, how's that going to turn out? Horribly, which means the zeros are Why is it none? Well, if you were to graph it, if it's 0, -8, and if it's going down, that thing's never hit. Right? So what would you guys fill in for the max or min? May as well finish it and do a whole problem. Yeah. Concave down, right, because my A is less than 0. So that's max. And then of the y value at 0. Does that make sense? Can we just, I don't want to do all of number 7, so I don't want to do your whole worksheet, but can I at least, because I thought number 7 was tricky, can we at least do the very first step of getting the vertex? Wouldn't it be of getting a leading coefficient of 1? Yeah, but I want a leading coefficient of 1, so I have to pull away the 1/2. That's kind of weird. How do I pull away 1/2 from 2? So I have to take it from both of those guys. The -3, I don't mind. He's going to be out there filling the blank, but I need to pull the 1/2 away from both of these guys. That one's easy, but what about that one? When I pull out the 1/2, when I divide the 1/2, I'm multiplying by the reciprocal. So check it. Does it make sense? It would be 4x. 1/2 times x squared. 1/2 times 4 is 2. It's weird. It's backwards.
Do you have to do that every time? Do you have to distribute that every time?
You can check and make sure that you've done it right by distributing.
No, but like, you distributed it for that one there.
Mm-hmm.
So then how do you get -4?
Yeah. Factoring out is dividing. So when I pulled out this -4, well, I guess I didn't really pull it out. Here, when I pulled out -4, I divided -4 by -4 to make the positive one, and I divided -8 by -4 to get 2. You're dividing every time you factor. So check it. 1/2 divided by 1/2 is 1. Got it. 2 divided by 1/2 is multiplying by the reciprocal. 2 times 2. So it's just weird because we can't see it.
So if it wasn't 1/2 and it was a whole number, then it wouldn't have been whatever.
It wouldn't have made it
It
bigger.
would have been whatever the B value was.
After dividing out whatever you pulled out.
But it would have been whatever the B value
Yeah.
was.
Yeah. A value though. Right?
No,
So if it was a 3,
I'm talking about what that -4 is.
Yeah.
Okay, if it wasn't a 1/2 and it was just a whole number as the A value,
it'd be B over A.
so it would just be whatever B is now. Right? That just goes back out. It doesn't change.
Now if you're factoring out.
Okay.
If it's a 1, if it's an understood 1 already, then it would be the exact same. But if I have to pull anything away, it has to change because I have to do that factoring. That's fine. Even if it's a whole number. So like if it was something, I see you trying to like get full understanding. Hold on. If I had something like 3x squared plus 2x minus 10.
Yeah.
And if I pulled out a 3, I would have x squared.
Plus 2x, right? See, yeah. Okay, so.
Because factoring, I have to divide, I have to pull it out of both. And if it doesn't go in evenly, then okay, I just divide.
So 3 would be like 1/3. Like, how do you get 2/3? I don't understand.
Oh, because I have to make this guy 1. So I know I have to divide by
So
whatever's
3
there.
divided by 3 and then
Is
2 divided by 3. Okay.
I can see it. And you're so used to only having to do that when it works naturally in your head, like with the 4 and the 8.
Or it
you're
just
like,
comes right.
it comes natural, but you don't think about I'm actually dividing.
Okay.
But that's why I wanted to do number 7, because it's not natural at all. You're like 2 divided by 1. I don't know what that is. But 2 divided by 1/2 is 4. So. Then you're going to take your middle term, cut in half square, put it in both, and then is that okay? Okay. We're going to pause on the worksheet, at least on the initial ones, as far as like 1 through 7-ish. Can we look at the word problems? Let's be honest. Isn't that going to be where it gets harder? I mean, some of the math was hard earlier about the weird 1/2 or about the 2 terms instead of 3. But can you guys help me on what you're going to do on 8 and 9? Some people have already done it. Some people are working on it now. Let me help you out and say, I don't mind if you use a calculator. Remember, the point isn't per se mental math. Now, it's great if you can, and it's really good as far as stretching yourself if you can. I would have done it by hand, but oh, come on. You did, I know, you did a good job.
Christian school are not.
But how could you, or what would you do in your calculator if you're kind of like at the end of the worksheet and you just want to get it done? And I've said, okay, it's not bad if you do it with the calculator. What's number 8 and 9 asking for? 8's asking for a max height. It's a quadratic that's concave down. So if I get a good window, can't I find the max?
Yeah.
But careful. Is it looking for the y or for the x?
Why?
So it wants to know how high. It wants to know the y value. So you're going to be filling in the y equals, which is technically an h equals. But y equals in terms of feet, I think, right? But you're trying to find the max. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, yeah. How high? How high is the ball? Okay, what's number 9 asking for, though? Oh, it's still asking for height, and it still has a concave down? Okay. So that's what the answer should look like. Now, what if you're the sort where you're like, wait, they thought I should be able to do it by hand? Okay, then I will. Now, once again, I said you could use your calculator. These ones are pretty nasty. We've done a long homework where some of them were really nasty and we just graded and saw. Jaden?
Yes.
You see how it's going to be one of those nasty ones again as far as factoring out. But when we factor out the -1/8, that's just going to be x squared. The 4's out there chilling. Okay, whatever.
The other one being 1 divided by -1/8.
1 divided by -1/8, which is going to flip it, right?
8 -8.
And then you can always check it. -1/8 times -8/1 is 1.
And then what would you do on the outside? Is it subtracting the 8 or adding on the outside next to the 4?
Oh, well, this one wasn't filling the blank yet. It was literally just rewriting. So, but you're right. Let's get this blank filled and figure out what that's going to be.
So, -8.
Yeah, -8 divided by 2 squared would be 16. But then 16 over -8 is really a -2, but I need to do the opposite of that. 16 over -8 is -2. I'm going to do the opposite of that, +2. And then everything's balanced. At which point I have my -1/8 with an x minus 4 quantity squared plus 6. To be honest, you could use your calculator, but if you can do this by hand, it's actually not that bad. Oh, look, it's going to be an x equals 4 with a height of 6. Because my vertex is at 4 with a height of 6 is my maximum. Because of my h and my k.
Where do you put 2? On the outside next to the 4.
Think about this.
So
Remember.
then you do the reciprocal of that.
I just times it. 16's over 1. Because I had to think about, this is offsetting.
So,
What you
okay,
do. You do the opposite.
Okay.
And so 16 over 8 is over -8 is -2. I had to
and
add
that's the
2.
number you put on.
I had to offset that. Well, man, I solved number 8 entirely. That was unintentional. Anyway, number 9 you can do with a calculator because it's really nasty, or you can try to do by hand again with that nasty factoring out as division, and can you do it? But calculator can get you the answer. But why do I have on your notes number 11 and number 10? Why are they even harder than number 9 and number 8?
Because they don't give you the
They don't give you the equation. So, if you didn't get down the hints yesterday, the hints on number 10 would probably be pretty stellar to get now. But I'm going to organize it just a little bit nicer because I was just kind of going for it yesterday. So real quick, as to why the hints are what they are. I was reading through the problem. At the very end, I saw what are the dimensions of the largest yard. Largest meaning largest area. So at the very end of the problem, I want the maximum area when, wait, dimensions. I guess I need to put some variables, right? How about an XY rectangular yard? Yeah? When X equals I can fill in all 3 of these blanks, I know what my largest yard is, and I know what the dimensions of my box are. So that's the goal. But I need to make an equation. Yesterday I was like, hey, isn't this a perimeter? 500 feet around fencing, right? 500 feet around. So I said, oh, I know 2x plus 2y is equal to 500 feet. And I got this y by itself by doing 500 minus 2x over 2. But yesterday I actually showed that we can do that division or times 1/2 of both. And that's a good clue, but that's not a parabola yet. Oh, wait, what am I supposed to be doing? Area. So this was my perimeter clue, but I'm supposed to be doing area. And area is x times y. Now, can I put that in my graphing calculator with that? No. What can I do? Take my perimeter clue. Plug it in. And then you have a quadratic. And once you have your quadratic, you can either try to solve by hand for the vertex, because that's what I'm looking for, is my max, is the vertex. Or you can go to your graphing calculator, since it is this last word problem section, graph it, and find the max. So you're going to have to zoom out. You're trying to find the max of A, and A is X. Now this looks like a really fancy form, and it is a not too bad form, but the problem is this is a really fancy form or a really helpful form for finding what? Zeros or vertices? Vertex or zeros? What is this helpful?
Zeros.
Zeros, because it's all nice and pretty and factor. But do I want the zero? Nope. So if you were to solve it by hand, you would need to do negative x squared plus 250x. And then you have to say, well, I need a leading coefficient. If you're doing it by hand, remember, you can do calculus. This one's weird because you have no third number, so you would have to just have this little third number be the other blank. Take your negative 250, divide by 2, square it, put it there, and then you're going to have your h and you're going to have your k, but be careful. You get your vertex. Your hk is going to be an x and an a. So you'll be able to fill in 2 blanks. You need to use your logic to fill in the third. Kiddos, that's number 10 setup. Number 11 is similar, except there's one little extra harder piece. You have, looks like 2 paddocks. We're talking about horses, yeah? You have fence around, but not just around, but also through, which means if I was to make this guy x and I was to make this guy y, wouldn't my perimeter be 3x plus 2y? But everything else is super similar. Okay, too many hints.
So to find A,
Well, the problem is when you find your vertex, you have A, because A is your y.
but then how's A, how can tiger?
K is going to be your area. So whoever this guy is of your vertex is going here because of where the A was in the problem. The H is going to be your X value, and then you might have to use this to solve. Because Y disappeared, so we don't know him until we go find him. The Y disappeared in the map, and so we have to go back and pick him up. It's like we kicked him out for a little while, and then we'll go back again. Alright, guys. We are supposed to be going section 2.2 today, but I did want to help you with the worksheet. It's something that regular doesn't have to do. But we can't just stop there today. So you guys are in your worksheet. You're writing down hints. Some of you have been working on it like the majority of the time, but we can't stop there. Sorry. So I'm going to go ahead and say, finish up whatever last thought you were putting, whether it was a hint, whether it was a clue. Whether it was a hint or whether it was a clue. You guys do me a favor. How much homework do we have tonight?
Oh, I got a lot.
For this class, you technically have the worksheet, right? Some of you have it done, but for the rest of us, we have the worksheet to finish. True. I've tried to go through and touch on the things that were trickiest, I think, and explain as much as possible. We have about 10 minutes left of class, and here's like the dilemma in my head. I wanted to get into section 2.2 notes, but that homework isn't due until
Thursday.
Oh, Thursday.
yeah, until Thursday. So we technically have a little itty bitty baby bit of wiggle room. And do you see what kind of polynomials we're going to in section 2.2?
Yeah.
Higher degree? Like cubes and fourth powers and fifth powers and sixth powers and scary ones, right? I don't necessarily know if I want to go to the scary ones without doing a little bit of factoring. Some of you are masters at factoring, and that is great. But some of you might be like one of my old kids who's over at Moore Park College tutoring calculus to college kids. But at one point in time was failing her Algebra 2 class. Went through my AP calculus class, went through calculus 1 and 2 in college, but she had to learn things differently than other people, and math didn't necessarily come easy. And one of those things that didn't come easy was factoring. Just because she wasn't in my honors HPrecalc class too, but yeah, I know, failing first semester Algebra 2, and then she was in honors HPrecalc last year, but she worked real hard. But her brain, factoring was hard, and she was in my honors class. I'm not saying that any of you are necessarily like her, but I do want to say that factoring can be hard. Can you guys do me a favor? Can you take a picture of this? Because we're not going to take these notes today. But what I want you to do is have them set up for tomorrow in your notebook. Does that make sense? It's a little baby extra piece of homework. I mean, you could go online, you could watch the video, you could look at the PDF, but this is easier, right? Just take a couple pictures really fast. You don't need to skip any lines anywhere, it's totally fine. You're going to do some sketches. Do you guys have these 2 pages?
Yes.
Okay. Let me see what's on the next page. Do 2 more. Because you don't need to skip any lines. You're just like setting it up. That's it. If some of you guys write really fast, and maybe you're fine doing it in class tomorrow, but I'm going to go pretty quickly. Okay. Let's just play with factoring for the last like 7 minutes of class. Sound good? I want you guys to go in the back of your homework spiral. Oh, sorry. You were still going. I apologize. Someone still need it? Back of your homework spirals, workspace. Let's not go to cubics and 4th degrees and 5th degrees and 6th degrees today. Let's just stick with quadratics. We did the worksheet. We did what we needed to do for honors. Let me go find my cool little quadratic practice wherever it is. Where are you? I hid him somewhere because we were skipping him. No! That's all right. Okay. I want you guys to go ahead and in the back of your homework spiral, I want you just to label this. You're in the back. I want you to label it factoring practice. I want you to label it factoring practice. Here's the dealio. It's going to be a little bit of a competition in that I don't want you working with anyone else. I want you to know where you are with this whole thing called factoring. Now pause. Am I asking for zeros or factors?
Factors?
Factoring. Factors. Factors only. What does that mean? I don't want to see or hear or have answers of x equals 2 and x equals 3. No, 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 no. I just want x minus 2 times x minus 3. Does that make sense? So for this one, just for an example, before I get you guys going, don't write this one down. If we were finding the zeros, one of the steps to finding the zeros would be factoring, right? We set y equal to 0, and then if we can, we factor to avoid the quadratic formula and all that craziness. So when I'm asking for factors, I'm asking for this. If I want you to factor, I don't want you to actually go all the way and find the zeros and say, x equals 9 and negative 2. No, that's not what I want for what we're about to do. I just want the factors, not the zeros. Okay? On your marks. Get set. Do as many as you can. Go. If you don't like one, skip it and go to another one. Do as many as you can. Think of it like a speed drill. You're just trying to get as many right ones as possible. You're just trying to get as many right ones as possible. Just the factors. Don't go setting equals. Just the factors. Start playing with the first four. We should have those ones done yet. Check 1 through 4. How are we doing? 1 through 4 good?
Number 4.
Number 4?
That one.
63.
Oh, wait, no, I see what I did.
Yeah, 7 times 9. Whenever you see a positive as a third coefficient, remember, you either have to have a negative times a negative to get that, or a positive times a positive. That inner term tells you which sign to go for. But some of you guys are doing x's, right? So you could be thinking of what multiplies to be a positive 8 adds to be a negative 9. It has to be a negative 8, negative 1. Or it multiplies to be a 63 and adds to be a negative 16, negative 7, negative 9. Why does number 5 get harder?
Because of the numbers.
Okay, so pause, pencils down. Pause, pencils down. I'll be curious tomorrow, and I'll probably give you guys a little more time to try to finish all 10. But I'm curious as to how you solve number 5, and here's the reason why. Because for me to solve number 5, I learned this method called the guess and check method, where I would set up my 2 little binomial pairs, and I would look at the very first term and say, oh hey, it's 7x and x. It's the only way to multiply to get 7x squared. But then in my head, I have to start thinking about this little, like, who's the outer and the inner of FOIL? That's like a smiley face. But the outer and the inner, the outer and the inner of FOIL. And I say, okay, to make 20, I could have 1 and 20, or 20 and 1, but 20 times 7 or 1 times 7 and 20, none of those make 31. Then I think of like 2 and 10, and I have 70 and 2, or I have 10 and 2, 14 and 10. Nope, doesn't make 31. I think of things like 4 and 5, and 35 and 4. Ooh, 35 and 4. Here's my 20. and I have 35 and 4, and that makes 31 if I make that guy a negative and that guy a positive. That's how my brain does factoring, but some of you are like, no. So some of you would have tried to break it down like this one. You would have done grouping, and you would have multiplied the first times the last, because we do AC on top and B in the bottom, and say what multiplies to that and adds to that. In this harder example, or a different example. But can I show you another way? That other way is that star thing that I showed a second ago, how you have your negative 140, and then you have your negative 31. You figure out that you can have your 4 times 35 with a negative. And what I do is I add a line on top to make it a star, if I actually formed it right. Alright. Pause. Some of you were curious as to what I was doing earlier. I take this leading coefficient and I put them on top. These guys are my x's. These guys are my constants. And you're almost to your answer if you just remember you always have to reduce. 7x plus 4 and 1x minus 5. Maybe that was never necessary. For the idea, yes. For the factoring, no. Tomorrow we'll see how you guys choose to do factoring from here on out. Yes and check? Star?